Good afternoon. Welcome to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for November 23rd. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First of all, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest by anybody? Anybody in the room, sir? No? Nope. Roslyn? Okay. Need a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda.
Yes.
Roslyn?
Yes.
Harrison? Any questions? All in favor? Okay. Mover and a seconder for approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Councillor Boyce, yes. Roslyn. So I'll give you a name.
I read through them.
And any questions, comments? All in favor? Okay. Public input. I don't see anything here for public input. We have no delegations, presentations. Any correspondence? Anybody have any correspondence? Nothing. Looks like we're moving right along here. Okay, so items for committee's consideration. I'm basically going to be turning this rest of the meeting over to Director, not Councillor, Director. Grimman, I practiced that. Grimman, and would you like to just start off with any of the items? Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you through Mr. Chair. I do have a few slides to review based on the item agendas 8A and 8B, just to kind of share some information with the committee. Some of these things I've discussed with one or more members of the committee that I've discussed since the last meeting, but just wanted to bring forward some information to share with you. So the city is part of an organization, Parks and Recreation Ontario. We subscribe to receive information, and certainly they're a great resource and kind of the resource within the province. They are also closely linked to the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association, and so they've got some really great initiatives that they champion and certainly advocate for in terms of healthy, active living, which really do align with Council's strategic priority. So I did want to bring some of that forward for consideration for the committee today. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. So the first of those is June is Recreation and Parks Month. So through the Canadian Parks and Rec Association and as well Parks and Rec Ontario, they have both declared that June is Parks and Recreation Month. Through that, they both have websites that they offer different resources and toolkits that municipalities or different organizations can access and promote healthy, active living to their communities. So I've included a bit of a snapshot from the Parks and Rec Ontario website on what they're proposing for the upcoming year. They've broken that out into the 4 weeks of June. And so you'll see that week 1, the focus is on flora and fauna. In week 2, active outdoors. Week 3, National Indigenous History, and week 4, sport and play. So within each of those different weeks, they will release different toolkits and information that we can decide to share as a community. And it's certainly great promotion from my perspective for residents to enjoy and be part of. It also helps them kind of connect to some of the great recreation assets that we've got around the community, whether those are parks or our facilities, or just our green spaces and trails in general. So I'll just leave that there and kind of continue on with the next slide. So as part of the Parks and Rec Ontario June is Recreation and Parks Month, they also offer kind of a templated proclamation request that can be sent to the municipal council. I'm including that here. I'm certainly not going to read through that and put everybody to sleep this afternoon, but obviously this slide deck will be shared with everyone following the meeting today, and you can kind of take a look at that. But in terms of the promotion of healthy, active living, myself and certainly discuss this with the chair, this might be something that the committee might choose to champion and kind of bring forward as a proclamation request to council. I will leave that for the committee's consideration this afternoon. But it's certainly great that Parks and Rec Ontario does a lot of this work in kind of pre-scripting these items for us as well. So this is very common. We see kind of hundreds of these go out to different municipalities, and different municipalities across the province and across the country declare June as Parks and Recreation Month. So that's, again, something for the committee's consideration this afternoon.
Thank you for that overview. A quick question about that. Is there a way to customize it? Is that what's in the fine print there without us going through it?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Fuller. Yes, the script is kind of written, but certainly we can fill in any pertinent details about our community more specifically.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yep. Can we, I know they're saying June is the month, but can we, any way we can work this into Canada Day? Is there, that's, I guess I'm asking through you, if there are any resources that we can bring from them on into the Canada Day activities. That's all and you don't have to answer it now, but maybe something we could work on, that's all.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the Mayor. Yes, the next slide that I'll get to, you're right on the right track here in terms of some support that we may be able to roll into Canada Day. Certainly a great suggestion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councillor Reid, sorry about that.
Thank you. I think this is a wonderful idea. Is there going to be an exorbitant more of a cost than what normally we would probably do for the recreation in the summer month? If we were to proclaim this being June Recreation and Parks Month, what kind of cost do you see?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Reid. Really, the work done is really a communications and a marketing play, and certainly that can be done within our existing operating budgets, and really with a lot of the tools that we already have at the city, with our website, with our social media channels, and certainly some of the different activation signs around the community as well. So we would leverage those to really promote this initiative, so there wouldn't be an uplift to the budget on that.
Thank you very much.
Would you be including, say, Lower Trent for that week of flora and fauna, for example, and your like Daily and May, places like that, to help promote the idea, since they deal with plants and stuff? That's an example of involving community.
Through Mr. Chair, certainly if this is something that the committee wants staff to kind of action and carry forward, we would work to kind of flesh out the details of those various week themes and bring back some suggestions and information that would definitely connect to different organizations, whether that's a conservation authority or a YMCA type organization around the community. We would certainly work to bring in as many partners as possible in that.
Another comment, Mr. Chair. I think we'll go to our guy that looks after all these flower beds and things and keeps. I know you're not responsible for putting in them, but how many do we have in the city that you maintain or are maintained by us? And I think we need to focus on what we have.
Totally, we have 144 beds that we look after. So for the maintenance of it within the city of Quinte West. So yeah, 200 hanging baskets and then around 65 planters. So
If we just emphasize
What we have, like our own resources,
yes. Yes. We'll be
signage and stuff in them.
looking good.
Yes, again.
Through Mr. Chair, if I can just comment a bit further to Mr. Byron's comments. Certainly, the kind of the point as well of the June is Parks and Recreation Month is to really focus on the assets that the city has. It's not necessarily to look at significant additional spends. I think we will be on the sidelines dealing with a Parks and Recreation master plan, and some of the outcomes of that may look like that. But the focus of this communications and promotions campaign would really be to focus on what we have in the community and certainly celebrate and make sure that people understand and have access to that.
Is there any signage available from this organization that could be, say, put into the gardens, little signs to promote that activity for that week, for example?
Through Mr. Chair, if we were, certainly there's logo and there's some access to some media toolkit information. If we were going to look at the printing of physical signs, that again would be something that we would need to. They
don't have a kit
to add budget for. Yeah.
Do they have a kit that we could draw from?
It's an electronic, a digital kit. So
No, like a physical signage or something.
Not physical signage.
That they could provide. We have to pay for it.
No. Yes, we would have to pay for that.
Oh, okay. Anything else? Good. And one more.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So the second kind of part of all of this, and it certainly loops in and ties in really well with the June is Recreation and Parks Month, is an organization called Participaction. They're certainly well supported and endorsed by both the provincial and the national authorities. So within this organization, they also offer a few different things. One being their annual community challenge, and so they incorporate that within June for the Parks and Recreation Month, and they call it the search for Canada's most active community. So there's a bit of a program that municipalities can sign on for, and there's again different toolkits and marketing materials that they provide to have us promote that to the community. So we would sign on and register, and then we would promote that through our channels for the community to get involved with. There are also kind of additional grant opportunities that come as part of that. Those grant opportunities don't get launched until January, so we don't have the full details of that yet. But I've included some information at high level on what the challenge and initiative certainly supports, and that is physical activity and sport, encouraging people to get out and get active in their communities. Certainly there is a focus as well in terms of the funding. If we are looking at funding a particular program or activity, certainly a lot of support for developing programs and services that promote equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as accessibility. So again, certainly I can send that information to the committee as well, and that might be something that we want to consider. We do have some time, given that that won't come online until the new year.
So they'll have national advertising going on around this time period, so we can piggyback off of it early. It's helping us promote our own week or whatever month.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The challenge, you don't know any details about the challenge. I know before it was Trenton was versus somebody in New Brunswick or something who was more active than the others. For 15 minutes a day, everybody signed up, and that was it. Something like that. Population-wise, it matched you up.
Right, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm not sure of the precise details. Like I said, that won't get launched until the new year. But the community challenge does kind of take place between June 1st and 30th, and any municipalities that have registered can participate as part of that.
Okay.
Are there any questions at all about any of those initiatives? So the June is Recreation and Parks Month, the Participation, or the proclamation request?
Just through you, Mr. Chair, Participaction's been around since the 60s.
Right.
So, yeah. Just
for us to participate. I
guess you'd say refocusing on it, that's all. I don't know whether it includes baling hay or not, does it? Or?
Yeah, it's anything, any physical activity. Okay. Number 3.
So the third item, the 8C item on the agenda. So there were some items. I also sit with the Economic Development, Tourism, and Special Events Advisory Committee. There were a few items that came up as part of that committee that did cross into the lane of this committee. So certainly wanted to bring that information back to this group just for information and consideration. So the first item came from Councillor Card. He was very interested and had some experience with disc golf and was interested in possibility of investigating the feasibility of developing a disc golf course in Centennial Park, and what related costs and other ideas might be possible for filling some more space in Centennial Park. So I wanted to bring that information forward to see if anybody had any questions about that. I will also just caveat that when we do get into the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we will certainly include items like disc golf and any new and kind of trending sport or activity as part of those considerations. So whether the committee wanted to deal with this in isolation as a request to direct staff to look into this outside of the Parks and Rec master plan process, or if we should continue kind of down the path of looking at this in conjunction with the entire master plan process.
Any questions, sir?
I was just going to comment that I think the master plan makes more sense, but if we dealt with it now to get it implemented for next summer, that would be beneficial. I mean, if the master plan is going to be a longer process, and I would deal with it at this committee.
Can they be a portable pop-up type of thing too, instead of a permanent zone? Have you considered that idea to promote it throughout Quinte West?
Through Mr. Chair, I think that's something we would have to explore in a little bit more detail. I'm at very high level familiar with disc golf, but not on a technical level with regards to the
Frisbee and a
equipment.
pole.
Yeah,
Or a pole.
right, right.
You
Yeah.
got 18 or 9 poles and a number of Frisbees in a way, right? And you could set that up
I do
anywhere.
think it's fairly portable and could be relocated quite easily.
Yeah, if you had kits or something. Anyway, along with it, if you're looking at a permanent structure or whatever. Anyway,
And sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, just maybe to answer Councillor Kotzevo's question. So the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is probably a good year project. So that wouldn't be something that we would have in place for next summer if we were going to roll it into the master plan process.
Thank you for
Yes, sir.
the request. Sorry, I have one question about that temporary setup in Centennial Park. I'm not that familiar with the park, but I just want to make sure that the residents around that area would know what days it's being played and set up advance notice, as that park seems to be used for a lot of different things. Right, so for a group just to show up and take it over on Sundays from 2 to 4, I think the public deserves advance notice of that.
I think the idea was, oh, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, you're absolutely right. Is there any time the park isn't used other than midnight till 8 or 7? What? I guess that's my question.
But Councillor Card's idea is a permanent site, possibly, correct? Is that, or am I wrong on that? So therefore, if there was a site, it'd be like a golf course. You're signing up and away you go. You're not interfering with soccer, baseball.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, the difference, I would say, with some of the activities that happen in the park now, whether that's the sports field activity or something at the amphitheater, for example, those would be more bookable spaces. So things that have to be permitted access and assigned a time, whereas disc golf, from my understanding, is a bit more passive use. It would just be kind of open and available for residents to enjoy at their leisure if they're in the park.
Okay,
through Mr. Chair, is there any way we could combine this idea of permanent and portable by trying the portable idea first and seeing how much use there would be before we designate a bunch of land towards it if it's not used? Having experienced disc golf at the high school, it was big expense, well used for I'd say a couple of months, and now it's just more of a hazard than anything else because they are fairly big cemented in structures. So if maybe we could try portable for a summer or for a length of time, see what the use is, and then commit to a more permanent if we feel it's worthy of it.
Through Mr. Chair to Mr. Whitney. Certainly, again, with direction from the committee, that's something that staff are happy to explore.
To Keeley, what size of or area is normal for one of these sites? Or does it vary by, say, children to adults?
Courses vary. I've seen it. I haven't ever installed one or managed one, but it's just like any golf course. There's different levels of plays, different levels of challenging. So you do need a decent large piece of land. Depends on your layout and design and how hard you want to make the course, right? So I'd be interested in seeing if they are portable because the poles are pretty large and big. It's big and cemented. I call it the golf hole, but that's not what it is. But it's really a heavy piece of pole. A lot of concrete, but typically it's like a 9-hole golf course, right? So you can make your distance as long as you want, as short as you want. You do need a good chunk of property on that end of it.
It has to be cemented in?
Safety reasons, yes.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Yeah, for liability in that, yes.
Like what's the size of the pole? Like for the flag is, I guess you call it the flag.
Councilor Armstrong, I don't have that on me right now.
Oh.
I've seen them. I've never installed them or haven't played the
But
sport.
you can modify the game.
You could modify it,
You
yes.
could just line a circle
Yeah,
and
you're
hit the
correct.
circle.
You still need your vertical pole. You can modify them
Why?
and put in. That's the rules of the game, I believe. I'd have to look more into it, but all the ones
so
I've
that
seen.
they know where the hole is?
No, the
kinda?
hole is, it looks like chains and stuff coming down and they hit it, right? So it's just like a golf pin, right? You just hit it with
You
the
use
golf
a
pin
high
and people
helium
find
balloon
it.
too?
So you can see where I'll call it the hole or the pin, right?
I understand. Yeah. Okay. But I think you can, more ways to skin a cat,
There
right?
always is. You'd have to do
agreeing with,
further investigation, right, into it, so.
Mr. Whitley, or Whitney, I should say, yeah. I've seen that many times in schools, all this fad type of thing disappears. Anyway, but does anybody have any objections to pursuing it, or? I don't. Yes, sir.
To be quite honest, I wasn't familiar with it either. I hear that it's popular. I just called up an image, and unfortunately, like Mr. Whitney's point, if it loses popularity, you can't repurpose it for anything. It's not like a basketball net you can move to a different park, would be my only concern. I would like to see a cost analysis, just even if it's a brief one, it doesn't have to go into too much depth. If we could request that and see what it would cost the city, how much land, I know was another concern that was brought up, would it take up?
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree.
before we just make a final decision. Thank you.
Okay. That it?
Through Mr. Chair, is that a formal motion that you would like to make, Mr. Councillor?
Please, yes, for the next meeting, that we have just a rough cost analysis, including staff time and setup and cementing it in. The cost of actually purchasing 9 of these.
And space.
Yes, and the space it would take.
So you're moving that?
Yes, please.
Seconder?
Yep.
Okay. Price. All in favor? Carried. Okay. You had another 2 or 3 items? Good.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. The next item that came up through that committee that was deferred to this committee was a request from one of the committee members to undertake a feasibility report for a beach volleyball court somewhere along the water in Centennial Park, as well as for skating paths and rinks, potentially along the pop-up paths in Centennial Park, and also the possibility of having the pop-ups open in the winter time. So the pop-ups, for those that might not be familiar, are the cabins or the sheds that we have in Centennial Park that we open for the summer months. Just maybe to that point, we, within our tourism and special events group, do having an upcoming holiday market that's going to be taking place. So we've maybe slightly checked the box on that request. So the 1st through the 3rd of December, we are going to be opening those pop-up sheds again for a holiday market. So just looking to see if there's any interest in us pursuing any information further with regards to the feasibility for a beach volleyball court or the skating rink and skating path. Again, it was noted by yourself, Mr. Chair, that these suggestions would all be items that would come forward as part of the Parks and Recreation
Right.
Master Plan. So again, if we are going to do kind of a deep dive on the intentions for bringing information like that forward, and certainly considerations for locations throughout the city in a thorough capacity, I would suggest that that remain with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. But again, open to the committee's feedback on that.
Everybody in favor of that? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep. Question. Have you hired the person yet who's going to do this plan, survey study?
Through Mr. Chair, we have the request for proposal going out next week for that.
Oh, so it's still in, okay. Okay. Anything else?
That looks like that's all I have for my notes that was requested from the committee. So thank you.
Any further questions, comments related to the topics that she just presented?
Just a comment, Mr. Chair, through
Yep.
through you. And I don't know how much room we have left in Centennial Park, if we have any. But the question that I would have to ask is where, if we have multiple uses and so on, and we do, what do we do about parking? I guess that's my question. I mean, do we have a lot of room? As I'm not there on, to tell you, I don't know. But I guess that's something I would ask you to consider when you look at all these options and opportunities, is make sure we got places for people to park. Thank you.
They'd be looking,
I would ask one more question, Chair. With Frankfurt, do you have parking issues there? I've been there when there have been, but that doesn't mean there always are. I don't know.
it's busy.
We do not have parking issues normally, except for Wednesday night's music in the park. And then it's all, everybody adjusts. We're quite, we get along. There's no problem, there's no issue. There's always a place for someone to park. That's usually the only other night. We do have a lot of people using the basketball courts and the beach volleyball court out there, having their little games. Not a problem at all, but Tourist Park is much smaller than Centennial Park. So I wouldn't say that we have any issues with parking. No, we've got lots. It doesn't look like much, but we're able to handle it.
Getting back to the disc golf, for example, they're in through trees and stuff. These places are like that, correct? Some of them? Like Hannah Park is an example of an area that's pretty big, lots of, I'm not sure you could create some holes throughout there, or the object is drills go around the trees, but there's space there, natural space. Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I did actually visit one. There's one in Belleville between the mall and the arena there on that park just south of the 401. And it looked like they were throwing them probably at least 100 meters
Really?
per hole. And they were, like, you wouldn't want to be walking in between when somebody
That's the
does it
issue.
because they're really rocking. But
Through Mr. Chair, a question with respect to the outdoor arena. Do we have any of those slated for this winter, or is that with respect to next winter?
Through Mr. Chair to Ms. Fuller. So currently, the city does not maintain or operate any outdoor arenas. We do certainly partner with the Battawa Lions Club, who do a great job up in Battawa running the outdoor rinks there, and certainly there's a great complement of them. They've got a number of different ice surfaces that they maintain there as well. We did also last year implement a new community rinks policy for the city, so that allows community members to bring forward and set up and operate rinks within their different neighborhood areas within the city. Those again are not rinks that the city or city staff would set up and operate. They are more neighborhood based, and different community groups that can sign up to bring those forward.
Anything else? Yeah. Could I ask, Keely, your vision of these outdoor skating trails for Quinte West? They're in Halliburton, correct, I think, or they're up in that area for sure.
Yeah, Barry.
Barry area,
There's
something
Barry.
like that. Cool, but there's what? You're the guy.
They are nice to have. I've seen a few within different communities through Ontario. Very staff-consuming time to build them with weather conditions, right? Your ice thickness, legal liabilities with that thickness of your ice. They're usually ran by a tractor-mounted ice resurfacer, so three-point hitch, Zamboni or Olympia. Both companies make them for tractor. Just all in your weather nowadays, just like outdoor rinks in your local thing, right? So it's harder. Some are through trees, some are in the open. You want a little bit of shade, not too much sunlight, so your ice doesn't melt during the day. So location is key for that as well. Hannah Park would be a neat one, but there's a lot of expense, just in my personal opinion. But they are expensive to create and maintain, and it's a lot of the key is your location, right? So
They're all natural,
all natural.
not any kind of refrigeration.
You can
if you
you can create if you want to put a refrigeration unit under your trails, right?
Well,
you can do that.
Here's
right?
the question. If you were to say, hey, we're going to put in the winter on these trails or through Centennial Park,
Yeah.
you now have dog walkers going to say, wait a second here. That's a counter to that. That's what I could see, because there's a lot of those people out there walking dogs, and they're,
Yes.
you know.
And Centennial's asphalt trails, park staff maintain in the winter. Trails like Hannah Park, for example, are unmaintained in the winter as we post. We don't do any maintenance, and a lot of it is ideal for collecting water anyways and ice, but there's just your location like anything. Councilor Armstrong, it'd be nice to have, but there is a cost associated to it too.
Councilor Reid?
Thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful idea, but I really think it's a very poor idea. We have winters that are not consistently cold. I think it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money. It's just, we have arenas that people can use, and yes, it sounds very lovely to have an outdoor skating path to go on, but to be honest, we might have a week of solid cold, and then we've got back to slush and slop again, and then I think it's just a very expensive task to do, and I can't see, as much and all as I love the idea, I just think it's a very poor idea. It's very expensive, very costly, and very time consuming for staff who are already worked right with so many other projects. So I can't see putting some money into something like that.
Last year, the Rito didn't even freeze. There's an example. There's one of our national situations that it didn't happen last year just because of climate. So, yes.
Through Mr. Chair, if I could just add a further comment. When we do get into the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, a big part of that project will be community consultation and doing some public engagement and outreach to the community to really kind of dig into what their interests are, what they see as the priorities for future investments in recreation and recreation assets around the city. So we may hear loudly that that's skating trails. We may hear loudly that that's not. So I think that will be a really great opportunity to kind of carry these conversations forward.
Have you ever seen them in artificial form? Like the artificial ice? Like,
Yes.
Through Mr. Chair, I know there
as a
are.
trail?
Kingston, oh, well, I'm sorry.
But it could be,
Kingston has artificial ice outdoors,
right, so,
but I don't know whether there's a trail, but you have to be so careful with all these things. You're competing against those who are trying to walk, and
Yeah.
you're using space. And Councillor Reid is absolutely right. I've done outdoor rinks, and over my lifetime, I think it's about 20% successful.
Yeah.
Out of 10 years, if you get 2, you've done well.
Yeah.
And it's getting warmer, not, they say it is. I'm not sure, but they say it's getting warmer, so.
But an artificial trail
Sorry, I didn't have my
located
mic
on
on.
its own is is feasible in the sense that you wouldn't have that same kind of problem with, you just have to keep it clean if, you know, it snows. You have to worry about it melting, correct? The outdoor surfaces that they are, the artificials, they just keep them clean, but you need roofs still to keep snow off the roof. It's like, why not build a rink, right?
We have such wonderful rinks in our city of Quinte West right now, numerous occasions, and Battawa has 5 outdoor rinks, and they have difficulty keeping them running through the winter because of the weather and stuff. So it's not like we don't have facilities for the residents. We do. We have indoor rinks, we have outdoor rinks, and I think we need to utilize what we've got rather than adding something more. And staff are so busy right now, and I think we need the roads plowed more than we need a skating surface outside plowed.
But staying on topic, you get a lot of people in town say, why can't we use the bay or, you know, the old Patrick Marina? Is it the liability issue there? Number one? Just to answer that question, so we all have that answer to give to people.
Liability, yes, liability in everything we do, and my personal opinion on open water nowadays, your ice needs to be so thick,
Yeah.
just measuring it, and we don't get the weather,
Yeah.
right? It's hard, same as our neighborhood policy last year. I figured we would have had a few rinks try to start, but it's just so time consuming in the weather for 1 or 2 weeks out of it. Years ago, I was under my understanding that they skated on Robert Patrick Marina.
Yep.
Now, we had a color code system. I see files in my office on that, but those temperatures, consistent temperatures are, no longer there.
Challenging.
Right?
Stanley Park.
It's difficult to do,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yep, okay. Anything else, Director?
Through Mr. Chair, just to, I think, maybe the mayor's question or point, there is a refrigerated skating trail that I'm aware of in the city of Richmond Hill, just in the GTA. I'm happy to send that information to the committee just for their information and to take a look at. It is a refrigerated 250-meter trail that's a loop.
That's a loop, okay. Okay. And that's everything on that topic? We're done on that? Okay. Do we have any other new or other business going around the table? Yes.
Yes, thank you. You're aware as well, Councillor Armstrong, the Trent Ward councillors received an email of concern. The lady lives on Blossom Court, and her concern is the Matthew Stakos Memorial Park backs onto the busy Second Doug Hill Road, and they're wondering if they could put a fence not surrounding the entire park, but just to stop children from running onto Second Doug, similar to your request on Bay Street.
Is that our responsibility, or is that a contractor, whoever built that park? And that's a construction zone, so when it's finished, they may also look after that park. But we would have to check that out.
it's conversations myself and Mr. Turner and Director Angelo had. I believe Councilor Armstrong and I discussed it before. From my understanding, I'd have to follow up with Director Angelo. There's still some more work to be done to that road. I guess some repairs, as the mayor mentioned. So that's all I'd have for an answer for you today on that one. It's something we have talked about even 6 months ago. But from my understanding, Public Works has some work to do on that road, or the developer does. Right? So
That would be, thank you for just a point of interest myself, and I don't know if the city even has something to that effect. Should the park back onto a certain road that has a X amount of traffic, or the speed limit becomes a certain amount, I know it is up to the builder, but not all parks, I think hardly any actually have the fence. The Bay Street was a safety issue. So we don't have a policy in place, unfortunately.
That was our property too, though.
Yes.
But
So if there's anything in place, there's no clear answer. This park gets a fence, this one doesn't. I just didn't know if there was something in communication, we may be leaning towards that with the city.
Is there something in the approval process for these developments where you say, okay, part of it is putting in fencing, or is that or not? How is that?
That road will be done by 2025 at a cost of $6.6 million. That'll include all the reconstruction of the road, the ditches, sidewalks, and streetlights. And at that time, whoever's involved in it, council will be, you can make a point to make sure that we look at any issues that might possibly develop.
Well, I guess my question was, when you're approving a subdivision or whatever, and you have those situations, that it's not just there anywhere, is that part of the approval process, or is it, now we're saying, we don't know if it's our responsibility or their responsibility? That should be, in my mind, right up front. So my question is that a process?
Well, you have a site plan meeting and site plan agreement, so you would look at everything involved in that or any other area and try to cover your bases. That's part of the process.
Okay. Yes, sir.
From my understanding, when I see the drawings or a park goes into a new subdivision, the home developer fences along the property line of the resident's house and the city property. So majority of the parks I've seen done in my time, it's usually one or the second side done, depends. Second Doug Hill, there's example on the east, there's one house there. There's supposed to be a fence going up that line and a wooden line. We haven't completely fenced one right in as to this point, but in our policy, when the planners meet, to my understanding, they just do the property lines. And that is the home builder's responsibility to do on that side.
Okay. Mayor Harrison, anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Here.
I wanted to put out to our group the opportunity to get together before the holidays. Councillor Reid, that would mean maybe having to come in for a lunch over here into Trenton. I know someone who might be able to get us a reservation over at a really great Italian restaurant. But I really like this group, and I thought it'd be a nice opportunity for us to get together before the holidays or shortly thereafter. I know how busy you are, but I really like this group and would like the opportunity to do that.
You said you're paying too?
Oh, no, you are.
Councilor Boyce.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, you're not finished. Oh.
No, I was going to say, maybe the mayor's paying, I don't know.
My credit cards half the time don't work.
Mr. Whitney?
Along comes a
Anything
counselor,
bad?
Boyce, and takes all my money.
Nothing? Director Grimmin?
Just maybe to close the loop, I know I shared a lot of information today with the June is Recreation and Parks Month and the Participation Community Challenge. I know kind of within that information, there was the proclamation information. Again, if there's interest from the committee to bring that forward to council as a proclamation request out of this committee, I'm happy to receive that direction by way of a motion. But
Yeah,
I'll
that's
leave
what I was asking earlier. So does anybody want to move that? Okay,
Yes,
all in favor?
yes.
Okay, so that's going to council. Yep. And Councilor Reid, anything? Oops, we lost her.
Oh, there she is.
Here, I'm just hitting the wrong button. No, other than I hope to see everybody out at the parades on the weekend.
Okay,
Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, and 4:30 in Trenton on Sunday. It should be great, and a huge thank you to the Parks and Rec staff, who are always willing and helpful to and keep our parks so beautiful. Even though it's not grass cutting time, they're out there doing everything they possibly can to make sure that things are in good shape. So thank you very much, and please pass that on, Keely, to your staff.
okay. I need a mover and seconder to adjourn. 1, 2, okay. Meeting adjourned. Great, good job.